So today this interview is actually going ahead. We had some connection issues yesterday; it just didn't work. It was a really absolute bollock, wasn't it?
Yes, it was a fiasco of internet issues yesterday, but we are here today ready to knock it out.
Of course, we're talking to the Psycho Boy Fodder. How would you describe yourself for people who's not familiar with you?
As a person or as a wrestling personality character?
Let's go both. Let's go wrestling personality first.
I mean, as a wrestling personality, I mean, I'm just super wild and crazy. I mean, like my style is just, it's more of like a brawler style. I mean, I can do some of the more fancier type stuff in the ring. But the fancier type stuff it doesn't fit my character and it doesn't get me heat. I think, really when you're a heel, like really basic wrestling offense mixed in with a lot of disobeying the rules and a lot of cheating behind the referee's back is what gets you heat. You ever seen like guys who are like supposed to be heels like on TV and they do like all kinds of cool stuff and they never get any heat because like the fans are just like popping for the moves. And it's like when you're a heel, man, you need to try to get heat from the crowd. I mean, that's the whole point of wrestling. As a person, I'm probably the total opposite of the character that I play. I'm very laid back, very relaxed. I'm probably one of the easiest people in the world to get along with, man. So a very, very chill person.
Are you basically saying you're a natural heel?
I'm a natural heel for sure. I cannot be a babyface, man. I mean, like, it's very, you know how people just have like that enthusiasm when they come through the curtain? I just don't have that enthusiasm. I have personality, but I don't have like that rah, get behind me enthusiasm at all. I mean, like I had a guy try to book me for an indie show and he was like, yeah, like we want to use you like as a baby face. I was like, just hit me back when you got a heel booking, man. I was like, I don't work baby face at all.
Oh dear. Of course we're talking to Psycho Boy Fodder. We've got loads of stuff to talk about, but of course, roll the intro. Now, since we originally spoke, man, how you doing, man? Ask things.
Oh man, I mean things are good, man. I mean booked all the time, man. When I got on here yesterday, I told you I was like, man, I was like, I totally had to get up and make sure I did the interview because I was just wore out, man. And just the wrestling, all the traveling and everything, man, it just completely wears you out, man. But we're here today and we're making moves, ready to knock it out.
Absolutely, of course. And do you ever get time to like chill out and stuff?
Say that one more time.
Do you ever get time like to chill out and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I get some time to chill out. I mean, like I have like a lot of side businesses that I have. And so a lot of my time is really eaten up by my side businesses and whatnot. But I mean, chilling out, I mean, I'd say like there's maybe a good hour before I go to sleep every night. I try to like kind of chill out and like leave the phone alone and like maybe like watch a little bit of TV if the wife has the TV on or something like that. Or like, if we take the kid to go do, something fun for him, like we went to like this Sunday, we went to this big like maze adventures park type of thing, where they had like pumpkin patches and all kinds of like fun stuff for kids, so that would be a chill out day for me.
Wow, of course. But yeah, of course, we're talking about obviously the wrestling side of you. So if there's anything I ask and you're not comfortable answering it, you just say next question, mate. We move on. Is that all right?
Yeah, easy peasy, man.
Oh, awesome. So let's obviously start at the beginning, mate. How did obviously your career begin in wrestling?
Man, I think I had a very
Froze again? I think he's froze from his side here.
Maybe. Let me see. Is it good?
Yeah, carry on.
Well, you know, early on when I was younger, like all I wanted to do was professional wrestling. And one of my early mentors was a guy named Dustin Massey. He went by the name Laz in the early TNA. Like I'm talking about like the NWA TNA era. And he had actually got me into wrestling school when I was 16. Now, he told them I was 18. When they found out I wasn't 18, they told me I couldn't come back until I was 18. And then I kind of got off into doing other things. And then just later on in life, I got back into it. And I kind of just got into it as a hobby, just wanting to, you know, for me, doing bodybuilding, when you're a bodybuilder and you're doing lots of shows and things like that, you know, all bodybuilding movements are kind of just movements in one direction, if that makes sense, right? So like you're doing curls or leg presses or squats or whatever, and you become very stiff or like immobile, you know, not like an athlete in the traditional sense. And I knew I was very stiff, and I wanted to kind of figure out different ways to kind of like loosen up and just do some things to just stay.
He'll come back. Give me a second. See. Give it a second. It'll come back, guys. Oh, is he disappeared? We'll try and get him back on. Bear with us. See, connection's working my side. Now it's not working on this side.
There it goes. Looks like it's better. Maybe this.
Are we back? Are we back?
You know, I signed up with a guy named Eddie McCoy. He taught me a ton. Then I was introduced to Lodi. Lodi taught me a ton. I trained a bunch with Matt Seidel down in Florida, and just I knew EC3 prior to me being involved in the wrestling business. And then once me and EC3 kind of connected on the wrestling tip, you know, things just they kind of really took off for me a lot faster than I would have ever expected.
Wow. And the first, obviously, how did the Control Your Narrative come about? Because that was my first introduction, obviously, to yourself.
Oh man, I mean, the Control Your Narrative thing, I think it just kind of came about. You know, the Control Your Narrative concept is a concept that was developed by EC3, you know, and his kind of like producer videographer, JC. And, you know, originally when EC3 got first let go from WWE, he hit me up and they were doing, I mean, it was kind of like a cinematic fight type thing that ended up airing on TNA. And he just hit me up one day and was like, "Hey man, like I'm looking to, you know, maybe use you in this cinematic fight thing. I don't know what it's going to be." He goes, I don't really know how it's going to be used. But he said, if worst comes to worst, it'll be like a cool piece of art that you were involved in, right? So that was on like a Wednesday. I flew down there that Saturday, and that's where I met like Braun Strowman. I met Moose. I met Spud. There were a lot of guys down there that were at the filming of this, and like we shot it. It turned out really good. They ended up using it on TNA, and then maybe a month or two passed. And he contacted me again and he said like, "Hey, like we're looking at maybe doing like a full-fledged film, kind of like a wrestling film." You know, where the matches, you know, the matches when they were filmed for Control Your Narrative, you know, all the matches were filmed in real time. They weren't like matches that were done, and shot like if you were shooting a movie. They were filmed in a cinematic way, but like when we would do the matches, we would just do the matches in one take, like you're having like a normal match in front of a crowd, right? And he wanted to include me in that, and he said, you know, I think maybe we can do something with you. You're like an unknown person, and maybe I can kind of like make you my project, and we'll see what we can do with you. And, you know, the Control Your Narrative 1 turned into the 2, turned into the 3, turned into the live shows. And it was just a very, very fast-paced thing that was happening.
Wow, awesome. How did the name come about, Fodder? Because this is really unique.
The name Fodder, it was kind of a joke. If you watch the credits on the first cinematic like garage fight thing that we shot, at the very end, it just says like, you know, starring Merton Woolard as the Fodder, because I was just like the guy like getting tossed around by EC3 in that particular scene. And when he contacted me and we were kind of talking about doing the Control Your Narrative stuff, he said, you know, I think you're just going to be, I think just like Fodder is going to be your name. And I remember I thought that it was just a terrible name. It was probably one of the worst names ever came up with by anybody. And he goes, nah, man, I think it'll be cool. Like, you know, and, you know, there was a lot of discussion about this, because I was like, just say it, you know, like, I don't think anybody's going to be like on commentary saying like Fodder, 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 but he was sure of it. And then when we shot the first one, that's when they started calling me Psycho Boy Fodder. And after that, I started getting a lot of bookings, and everybody was asking to book. We want to book Psycho Boy. We want to book the Fodder guy. And it's just like, you know, when something's working, you just kind of got to roll with it. And that's what I did. And I mean, now like it's fine. Like I couldn't imagine being anything else.
It's definitely unique. I mean, that's probably a fair thing, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Of course. And then the big thing, obviously, for you then is obviously you went on to the NWA. How did that obviously all come about?
Well, I mean, like the NWA thing kind of came about, like when we were doing the Control Your Narrative stuff, at the Final Battle Ring of Honor pay-per-view. That's when EC3 had a match there, and then they brought us in to do like a run-in and kind of like, you know, take out a bunch of guys, me and Weston Blake and Braun Strowman. So we do that. And then the following day is when I got contacted by AEW to go do a bunch of shots with AEW. So I did a bunch of shots with AEW after that. And then I worked Ricky Morton on an indie, and Ricky Morton, me and him just kind of like hit it off. Like we became like really good friends. And he just called me one day and said like, hey man, like, you know, we've been putting you over here like at NWA. I think you should be working on TV. Can you be here on Monday? This was right after the 74 pay-per-view. And I showed up that Monday, and I worked a dark match that they ended up actually using on their television program. And they basically hired me as soon as that dark match ended. They basically hired me right there on the spot.
Wow, that's awesome. And what's some of your highlights, obviously, from NWA? What's some of the things you look back going, I'm actually proud of that?
Oh, I mean, like, you know, in, you know, any of the matches, like working with Latimer. I mean, I like working with Joe Alonzo. He's real cool. You know, I think there was a lot of story there to tell with me and EC3 that never got told in the NWA. And then obviously anything that I was doing, you know, with my wife, you know, I mean, like our feud, kind of me and her against like Latimer and Camille, you know, was very good stuff, or we considered it very good stuff. Probably too short in time duration. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of stuff there with Latimer and Camille that we could have got 6 months out of. We could have got a 6-month program out of that. But you know, I'm not writing the creative, so that's their decision.
Yeah. And what was the decision, obviously, to step away from NWA? It was just one of those things, or was it like little things to it?
I mean, you know, I mean, like just on the creative end, like we had like kind of a vision of what we wanted to do creatively, and like they had a whole different direction that they were trying to go. And like I would tell anybody, man, like when you're working with people, if you want to go one direction and they want to go another direction and you're kind of at a crossroads, like it's all right to just take a step back and say like, all right, cool. Like, I mean, if you want to go that direction, like we want to go this direction, and if we meet back up and it makes sense, then we'll come back and it makes sense.
Awesome. Now, in preparation, obviously, for this interview, I watched some of your matches back, and I'm just going to say ECW Legends, and I'll let you speak about the rest.
Okay, go ahead.
So the first match obviously was, the first one I saw was obviously you and Bully Ray. I mean, Bully Ray's an absolute legend, you know what I mean, from the Attitude Era and stuff like that. I mean, what's it like working with him?
Man, a lot of fun, a lot of understanding that like wrestling is not lots of moves. It's actually like wrestling is actually like drawing emotion out of people. And if you are able to draw emotion out of people, you can do 50% less in the ring and the matches are way better, right? Because the crowd reaction is way better. Mm-hmm. I'm sure, there's lots of examples of like great like wrestling matches. And like, I mean, I love great wrestling matches. But there's plenty of examples of like incredible wrestling matches that you can watch. And like, the crowd is just, you could hear a pin drop in there. You know what I mean? So, I think like great matches are one thing and they have their place in the wrestling business. And then like sports entertainment is like a whole nother thing. Mm-hmm. And I think that like, when you get into venturing into like the sports entertainment side of wrestling, that's when you really start having fun. And like that match was one of the most incredible, fun. I mean, the crowd was just off the chain. I mean, I think there were 1,500 people there at that particular show. That was a big payoff match for a program that we had been doing, right? So he was kind of like the last guy in the rung of guys that I had been beating to kind of like take over the company or whatever. But Bubba's very smart, man. And he's definitely somebody who's got the experience. He's got the knowledge. And he's got, I would say that he's got the experience that like a lot of wrestlers should be listening to. I mean, people should listen to Bubba. You know what I mean? I mean, like, look at all he's done over the last, 30 years in the wrestling business. Why would you not listen to somebody like that?
And I've always considered him a massive veteran during and basically in wrestling in general.
Yeah.
And then the other, obviously, few names is Tommy Dreamer, Rhino, Too Cold Scorpio. That alone is an impressive list. You've got to be proud looking at that.
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, dude, these are all guys that I grew up watching on TV, man. Me and Dreamer had a great match. I love the match that I did with Dreamer. I mean, the crowd was great for that match. Dreamer's very cool, very easy to work with, man. Another just incredible talent with an unbelievable body of work. Rhino, same thing. And Too Cold Scorpio. I'm a huge Too Cold Scorpio fan. Always have been since I was watching him when I was a kid in WCW and, when he was Flash Funk in WWF. And I mean, working Scorpio was, like a little bit of a dream come true. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And, obviously he was gracious enough, to put me over and make me look good. And there's a lot of stuff that you can learn from a guy like Scorpio, man. Scorpio's got 40 years of experience in the business, and, working with him, he's not a guy who's going to put everything together piece by piece in the back with you. So there's a lot of improvising on the fly right there, live in front of the crowd, right? And if like he's certainly somebody that I would suggest that like if you're not somebody who has a lot of experience. I would never suggest anybody to get in. Like, I mean, he's that good, you know. I mean, and I mean, obviously, he's good enough to take a guy with no experience and be able to like walk him through it and make him look good. But just unbelievable dude, very, very nice guy. And you know, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it, man.
Absolutely. So Matthew Rodriguez is obviously in the comments. He says, during the Control Your Narrative era, was EC3 considering to do a Control Your Narrative with Wyndham Rotunda, aka Bray Wyatt? Did you hear anything?
That was talked about at some point, yes.
There you go, Matthew.
Whether that was going to come to like fruition or not, I mean, I don't know, but I know that it was discussed at some point.
There you go, Matthew. Hopefully that answers your question and stuff. I want to obviously talk about obviously your bodybuilding type thing, because I've obviously spoke to a wrestler and stuff like that. What obviously goes into obviously bodybuilding and stuff like that? Because I've never obviously been able to speak to somebody about it.
Just like in what sense? Like as far as like the bodybuilding,
like training and stuff like that.
Man, bodybuilding is just all about consistency, man. Like building a great physique is all about doing the hard things like day in and day out, man. When and being able to have lots of control over your habits and what you do. And when you're doing something like eating a diet all the time, you know, those type of things, when you're able to, like when you're eating a diet and you're able to say like no to the ice cream, right? Even though you want the ice cream, but you're able to say no to the ice cream, right? Because you know that saying no to the ice cream is going to further me towards the goal that I'm trying to get to, right? And building a great physique, it takes a long time, and it's just a lot of like everyday repetition, just doing the same thing over and over, right? It's like eating, sleeping, training over and over and over. And when a lot of guys, when you can see a lot of guys who have great bodies, you know what I mean? Like I'll just use like an EC3, for example, right? Like you look at like an EC3 and you go like, man, like this guy's got an incredible physique, right? But it's like, that's 15, 20 years of like dedicating every day to just that kind of repetition of like eating, sleeping, training, doing all the things, man, to get you there. And just the consistency over time is what builds the final product.
Awesome. And Matthew's obviously sent a follow-up part to it saying, did you wish that you obviously faced Killer Cross? Psycho versus Killer would have been absolute fire.
Cross is a very cool brother, man. I mean, I cross paths with him a few times during our Control Your Narrative time. Very helpful, very nice guy. Yes, if Cross ever goes back onto the indie scene, I'm sure that would happen at some point.
There you go. So for fans obviously of yourself, what do fans not know about Fodder?
Oh man, that like I'm a big collector of like wrestling like memorabilia. I'm a big collector of wrestling memorabilia, and I'm a big collector of like historical memorabilia. Like I got this piece right here. I'll show it to you. So this I found at a store. So this is a newspaper from Wednesday, August 15th, 1945. This was the day after World War II was ended. So this is a Truman proclaims total victory. It's a Philadelphia Record newspaper when the United States won World War II. And I got to get this thing framed, but I mean, this thing is like, I don't even know, like 70, 75 years old or 100 years old or something like that. So I like to collect a lot of old historical stuff. Like I have like right here, I have an original WrestleMania 3 poster that was hanging in the Pontiac Silverdome, signed by Randy Savage, Mr. Perfect, Ted DiBiase, Rick the Model Martel, And this was probably one of maybe 3 that are even in existence today. I talked to, we went down to Hogan's spot. My wife worked with Hogan for years. And one of the guys down there, he said that he only knew of 3 of these posters that were in existence. One was one that Hogan signed that they auctioned off at the beach shop there. Another one was one that was sent in, and a guy sent the markers that he wanted him to sign the poster with. And it was like those shake markers. And when he shook it and he opened it, it exploded all over the poster and ruined the poster. And then there's one in the, I think in the Michigan, in the Michigan gym. I mean, I like a Michigan museum. And then this one right here. But like he told me, he goes, yo, like, he goes, like the one you have, he said, is like, there's no value on that. He said, because all the other ones don't have all those signatures on it. So it's like, I don't know if I can turn this thing around here, but let me see. So that's it right there.
Wow.
So that's an original. And so we got some control your narrative stuff up here. And I mean, this whole office is totally insane. It's all my wrestling stuff. We got a whole wrestling. This is like my office, and we have like a whole like wrestling section of the house with all me and my wife's stuff in here.
And WrestleMania 3 is actually probably one of my favorite shows as well.
Man, I mean, when you say WrestleMania, lots of people say WrestleMania 3.
It's one of the best, right? Let's be honest.
Oh, sure. Yeah, most definitely. I mean, you got Savage, Steamboat. I mean, there's so many legendary matches on the show.
Absolutely. And so one of my friends obviously mentioned that you had a Ring of Honor appearance, which I completely forgot about. Talk about that.
Fun time. We were in so once the okay kind of happened on that, we were for sure doing it. We all met in Maryland, and it was like a big secret to keep Adam, that nobody knew that Adam was going to be there. I mean, like nobody knew. I think only like we knew, and then like some of like the Joe Koffs and like those people who were running Ring of Honor knew about it. And this was actually the night too that FTR and the Briscoes first had an interaction with their feud that they eventually got going. And we were just up in a room, like they brought us in, and we like pulled up in an SUV, got out and walked straight to an elevator, and they took us up in a room that was just like completely walled off that you couldn't even see into. And we just were in that room the entire time. It was me, Adam, Weston Blake, EC3, FTR was in there with us. And I think they did the segment before us. And we were just in there, just walled off for the whole pay-per-view until we did our thing. Lots of fun, lots of cool, lots of cool people like came in, said hello, met a lot of people that day. And then, like I say, I mean, right after that is when I got contacted by AEW.
Wow. I mean, 4 years in, Matt, I mean, you've done so many great things. There's even matches we've not talked about. I mean, you've got to be happy with, what you've achieved so far in your career.
Oh, for sure, man. I mean, I think with the wrestling, man, like when I got it, like it was always something that I wanted to be involved in and that I wanted to do. And then kind of once I'm not a person who can do, man, I'm not a person who can do anything at 60%. So like when I actually started doing the wrestling and I started seeing kind of like, okay, something can happen from this. Then it became one of those things where it was like, okay, like something can definitely happen from this. Everybody's telling me like, yo, like you got the look, you got the body, like all you got to do is learn how to work. You just need to work better people. And then you're going to be on your way. And I think that there's a few things that come into that, right? It's like, one, you need to keep a level head. And that's one thing I've always done is just kept a level head. And like, no matter what you do, just always knowing that there is another thing that you haven't done that you need to do. And keeping that mindset just kind of keeps you moving forward and doesn't it doesn't really allow you to go like, to get the big head or whatever, right? But I always say, like, if it ended right now, like, man, dude, I've totally like lived my dream. And like at one point in time, like I remember telling somebody like, well, like if I could just have like one match on TV, like I'd be like totally happy with that. And then it's like you do one match on TV and then like you want to do another match on TV and then you want to do pay-per-view and then you want to do this and that and the third. And I'm very pleased because most of all of the wrestling that I've done, I've always done wrestling for personal experience, not for money, because like I've kind of already built a life for myself outside of professional wrestling. Wrestling has always been for me about the experience, and wrestling the people that that's why I have no problem being on the indies at all, because when you're on the indies, you're in control of yourself. Like you're in control of yourself. You're in control of your matches. So I can work who I want, whenever I want, and not have to ever worry about somebody booking me and making me look like an asshole. Right. Yep. So, it's like, why would I like, and I always use this as an example. It's right. It's like, why would I go on anybody's television program and let them job me out on national television when you could book and pay most of the same wrestlers their rate to work on the indies and have an awesome regular match with them?
It's like that creativity in it. Do you know what I mean? You're not like restricted, you know what I mean, to what you can do and stuff.
Oh, well, I mean, like I'm a total player. Like if I'm signed or working at a company, I will do whatever they ask me to do. I mean, like nobody, you won't find anybody that'll tell you that I'm a complainer or I'm a guy who says like, oh, I'm not going to do that, or I'm very easy to get along with, right? Just like when you're working on the indies, because you're in control of everything that's going on, right? Like all those things you don't have to worry about anymore. So it's like, if I can wrestle, let's just say like, I don't know, if like my boy Flip Gordon, right? If I can wrestle Flip Gordon on an indie and we can have a killer match, I can have my camera crew come film it. I mean, they're filming in 4K HD, right? I can edit the match, get great commentary put on it, put it up on my YouTube channel and get, 10,000 views on it. So like, and if it's a totally awesome match, then people go like, oh man, like it was a totally awesome match, right? But you don't have to worry about like, the people in control of the match are you and the guy you're wrestling. It's like, hey, are you cool? Are you cool with me going over, or do you want to go over, or whatever, right? If we're working a story and we're trying to make things make sense, it's just so much easier to do that way.
That is a great answer. Do you know what I mean? That is really, well put.
Say that again.
I said that's well put. That, that actual question you just answered.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you.
Not a problem, man. Not a problem. Stuff like that. So, what's the goal, obviously, for you now? Do you know what I mean? You've done so much, obviously, in your career. What's the short-term goal? What's the long-term goal?
Man, I mean, I think I'm really somebody that just kind of just like, man, I just go with the flow, man. Like, there's still a bunch of guys that I want to wrestle. So, obviously, working new opponents all the time. And then, if the opportunity presents itself, for me and my wife to go to another company together and do the gimmick that we do together, then, hey man, like, cool, man. I mean, we can definitely explore, those options when they arise, but like, what I'm doing right now, it's like me and my wife, like we work at home together every day. We work on the road together. We do the wrestling stuff together. Like we do everything together. So like I wouldn't go anywhere without her, and I know she would not go anywhere without me. So, you know, whatever we do, we're going to be doing as a package deal. And if it's just us just doing indies and making money, you know, doing indies, and me just like saying like, hey, like I want to work this guy, or, you know, we want to do a mixed tag against, you know, this guy and this girl or whatever, then like, I mean, we're totally cool with that too, man, because like there's an audience for the wrestling. Like it's on YouTube, you know, like, I mean, like my YouTube channel, my subs go up every day. And I'm not even really actively pushing my YouTube like that, you know, in terms of like plastering it like on my Instagram or my Facebook page or my Twitter or anything like that. You know, the YouTube is growing on its own. So if I just kind of nurture my YouTube channel and I keep putting out good content on my YouTube channel, the YouTube channel will continue to grow. You know, we have our own merch store. We have our own store on the YouTube channel. You know what I mean? I mean, we're selling merch. I mean, so it's like, I like being in control of everything.
Awesome. So somebody obviously on Twitter obviously posted a question in for you, and it's, what's your favorite gimmick match? Is it this one?
That's
this one?
Great match. That was a fun match too.
Oh, this one.
The Bubba match was a gimmick match too. But I would probably go with the Latimer match as my favorite gimmick match. I love Latimer. I like the story that we built for that program, and that was my first pay-per-view match. So I don't know that. I'm not saying that I couldn't top the work rate in that match at some point whenever I do another gimmick match, whenever that may be. I'm not huge on the gimmick matches either, to be honest with you. I like regular wrestling matches. But the gimmick matches have their place. Like the kendo stick match had its place. So it would be hard for me to top that because that was like my first pay-per-view match.
Awesome. This has been an absolutely incredible chat, man. Do you know what I mean? It's an absolute pleasure as always. Before we obviously head off and stuff like that, is there anything you'd like to plug?
Just follow me on socials at LOKEYS910 on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, Threads, all the things. And then like and subscribe on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/psychoboyfodder. And I got a merch store on the YouTube channel with lots of stuff from me and the wife. So like, comment, subscribe. If you love the matches, say you love them. If you hate them, say you hate them.
I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll put the links in the description of this video so fans can literally click from this video and go straight to your matches, because there's so many matches on your YouTube channel. I've lost count how many there was.
Yeah, a lot of matches on the YouTube channel. And I mean, I probably have like 6 in the can that I need to upload right now, you know, so more to come.
More to come. Fodder, it's been an absolute pleasure, my man. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us, my man.
Hey, man, thank you for having me, bro. I very much appreciate it.
Not a problem. Cheers for watching, guys.